Look, when in Kenya, just roll with the punches. So I'm just.
This week on the Shameless Podcast.
You need to understand, like, why are you going into entrepreneurship? Are you building a business that you want to sell later on? Are you just building a business that you want to provide sustainability for your family? Also, in Transformation Leader on the platform, we have entrepreneur workshops, we have entrepreneur courses to basically encourage as well as foster correct entrepreneurship.
And so my question to you then becomes, what tool would you recommend that has really helped you propel your business?
Google Suite.
Google Suite.
I would say that our organization, our goal by the end of the year is to be 80% AI enabled. I also look at entrepreneurship and being an employee as those are functions that society needs. If every one of us becomes an entrepreneur, then who's going to be working in the organizations to grow them? The reason Microsoft is successful is because it has more than, 500,000 employees around the world that are doing things for Microsoft. Not everyone is Bill Gates. Okay, well, maybe I haven't told you either, but it was in the beginning of Data Sentinels, and one of my employees, a key employee, resigned.
Wait, so you're telling me that this entrepreneurship is a struggle, firstly, but then secondly, you have to put in a lot more hours.
So my parents are actually both entrepreneurs,
Yeah?
and that's why I got into the game so late.
Yeah, because you were like, hell
Yeah,
no.
because I saw how hard it was. Luckily, they're successful. They managed to take us to really good schools. Right now, they're living their best lives where it's like, oh, let's go do this. I'm like, I have a life. Like, I actually have work. I can't.
On a Monday.
Yeah, I can't just, oh, let's go hang out for like 5 hours. That's not my life right now. But the fact that I saw how much they worked, like even as a kid, I remember like wanting to go to work with my parents because they weren't around. They were busy growing their business. They would be working till like 2 a.m. There were so many nights that me and my brother slept at their place of work because they were just doing the hours.
Sometimes we are afraid to do something. You fear shame. I don't want shame. We're trying to break that burden by sharing stories of courage, resilience, and we want to be able to celebrate your story.
Shameless.
Welcome. Apparently I'm supposed to do this, but my name is Dzikamai Gangaidzo and I'm the host for your Shameless Podcast.
Hi, my name is Nono Bokete and I'm a Chief Transformation Ambassador.
And a guest, because I'm the host.
Yes.
I'm going to keep
Okay.
doing this because
Fair. It's okay.
That's what it is. That's what I am.
Where are we right now?
We are in Nairobi, Kenya. Imagine that. Who would have thunk?
I kind of miss South Africa because it was slightly warmer. And then the day that I was flying to Kenya, it was freezing. And I don't know if I brought
The
the
cold
winter
with you
with
to.
me. Yeah, because I'm not dressed appropriately.
Is it?
But I love that we're matching.
To be fair, it was intentional because this is the only clothes I have in my wardrobe. But at the same time, I'm absolutely loving the Kenyan vibe. So I went to go get my haircut. So because I was outside, I decided to get my haircut. And as I got into the space somewhere in Westlands or somewhere, I just turned the corner and I see a boxing ring. I'm like, what? And the guy's like, yeah, there's going to be a fight tonight at 7 p.m. I'm like, say, who? Oh,
Are you
who's
going?
fighting? Am I going? I am the one fighting. I signed myself up. I'm like, bring it on. So
Are you joking? Or is
no,
a
this is for
story?
real. For real. That's why I'm like, I'm loving Kenya.
I
To be
thought
honest,
you were under the weather and this podcast wasn't even going to happen. Now you're boxing?
look, when in Kenya, just roll with the punches. So I'm just, and so that's where we are, and that's what I'm doing later on today.
Good luck.
Thank you. I'm gonna need it. So I would love for us to maybe kick this episode off by you just highlighting what it is that we're gonna be talking about today.
Thank you for that baton, because
Yeah.
clearly you forgot what we were talking about.
100%, completely forgot, and I'm just like, dude, can you just save the day?
All right, so we're going to be
I don't know
talking-
why you had to call me out though.
I just had to,
Yeah,
sorry.
fine,
We're going to
thanks.
be talking about entrepreneurship. So why should you start and why shouldn't you start? I think that there's a big push around entrepreneurs, especially in the African context. Also in Transformation Leader on the platform, we have entrepreneur workshops, we have entrepreneur courses to basically encourage as well as foster correct entrepreneurship.
So you are a newbie in the entrepreneurship space?
Yes.
Would you say that?
Yes.
And
I have not clocked a decade.
You've not clocked the decade?
Yes.
And so as the newbie within that space, what did you think it was going to be versus what did you then see or find?
So my parents are actually both entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
and that's why I got into the game so late.
Yeah, because you were like, hell
Yeah,
no.
because I saw how hard it was. Obviously, well, not obviously. Luckily, they're successful. They managed to take us to really good schools. Right now, they're living their best lives where it's like, oh, let's go do this. I'm like, I have a life. Like, I actually have work. I can't.
On a Monday.
Yeah, I can't just, oh, let's go hang out for like 5 hours. That's not my life right now. But the fact that I saw how much they worked, like even as a kid, I remember like wanting to go to work with my parents because they weren't around. They were busy growing their business. They would be working till like 2 a.m. There were so many nights that me and my brother slept at their place of work because they were just doing the hours.
Wait, so you're telling me that this entrepreneurship struggle is a struggle, firstly, but then secondly, you have to put in a lot more hours.
That's what I've seen.
Yeah.
So there might be other stories out there where they were like overnight sensations.
Yeah.
But what I saw was many years of hard work, a lot of sacrifice to then reap the rewards at a later stage. So when I walked into entrepreneurship, I walked in with, in my opinion, with like all my eyes open, knowing exactly what I was going into. So to answer your question, was it a surprise? No, it was not a surprise. But maybe what the surprise was is that even though I was like, oh, I see my parents doing entrepreneurship, and I was like, I am going to be an employee because this is real life what they're doing. And then to be doing the same thing my parents are
You're
doing.
like,
is
what? This is.
So that's a surprise.
And so when you then step into that world, you then probably have to have certain traits, or you really build certain muscles, or you're exercising certain muscles. And immediately what I think about is, let's say, discipline, passion. What is your take on what muscles you feel like you're currently exercising the most right now?
Delayed gratification.
Delayed gratification. In this world of Instagram reels and literally 30 seconds, I mean, just 2 seconds ago, the guy was like, hey, you got to make this shorter because you're talking like an old man. And I'm like, wait, so modern life is not about like instant gratification. So you have to have delayed gratification. That's what you're telling me.
Basically, if you get a fat check
Yeah.
from a client, you cannot buy yourself a Range Rover.
So you just have
That is
to
not happening.
push your dream further along down the line.
Because you need to reinvest in your business, you need to grow, you need to scale, and you need to make it sustainable so that you can eventually, if you want to buy a Range Rover, Mercedes, or Bucky, or like I don't know, whatever you want, then that's what you need to do.
So that is very fascinating or interesting to me, because sometimes I think that the impatience of actually arriving is the thing that becomes the biggest pitfall for a lot of people. We tend to think that if I make X, then I'll continue making X, and therefore I can be a bit reckless with what I make because you've worked so hard to get it. But what you're telling me is that you have to really be disciplined and go, this is my plan, this is the trajectory that I'm running, and over time I'll get there. But it's not the first door that opens becomes the door that gives me everything that I was hoping for.
Yeah, my advice is, if you're an entrepreneur, give yourself a salary that is realistic. Your company's income is not your salary.
But the interesting thing, when I was talking to an uncle of mine, and he was like, I was like, yo, I'm so excited, I want to go into entrepreneurship, yada yada yada. And he goes, just make sure you've got enough money so that you can fail, learn, pick yourself back up, and then keep going. And I'm like, huh? My question to you is, on both of those elements of scale and money, how has your journey been? How have you seen the need for the capital? How do you transition from where you were into where you are? And then also about scaling, what does that mean to you? And how do you transition from where you are starting into scaling?
So I can tell because he's your uncle, he's significantly older. So he's probably sitting with a big check in his bank account.
He's an old man, very, very old. You know
Yes.
yourself, uncle. Old.
So most entrepreneurs in the African context are actually women or youth. And what we find is that in that particular demographic, access to funds is one of the pain points in terms of starting and scaling. And I do agree that you do need money and you need consistent money. It's not free to grow a business. I do think that things that you can do that are cheaper than most, and there are a lot of platforms out there, Google's Workshops has a lot of free things that you can use to basically manage your business. When it comes to scaling, you want to work on your processes. You need systems. You need repeatability, meaning that if someone is going to do consulting or whatever, making a widget, you need to be able to make that widget the exact same way every single time. And then you need to do it faster, and you need to do it cheaper, and you need to do it more effectively, and you need to do it whether you're there or not there.
Wait, whether you're there or not there, that
Yeah.
just sounds like stress.
Well, that's how you're going to scale your business, because what most people do, they're solo entrepreneurs, meaning I am the person who is providing the service. And maybe, I don't know if you'd even call a solo entrepreneur like an entrepreneur. Maybe you're just a solo business owner.
Or an unemployed person.
Or...
No?
Or no, because if you're working, I don't know if you're unemployed.
sorry.
Or you could even consider yourself just, self-employed, meaning you're literally just working for yourself. Because I think that when you now delve in the realm of entrepreneurship, it's about growing and scaling a business that can essentially be sold or run without you. And that process actually takes some time. So once you understand how to build processes and systems, then you're able to actually start monetizing that. And that is when you're actually able to sell. So if you want to build to sell, some people, you need to understand, like, why are you going into entrepreneurship? Are you building a business that you want to sell later on? Are you just building a business that you want to provide sustainability for your family? Are you building a legacy? Like, what's the exit strategy, if there is one, isn't one? Because it's different for everybody. And
And so I think that's actually very fascinating, because you talk about, well, what I hear is have a clear idea of what your strategy is. If your strategy of starting up a business is to sell it, is to grow it, is to do whatever, if you know what that looks like at the beginning, you can put together everything that you might need in order for you to drive in that right direction. But if you don't have that strategic perspective, you potentially lose out on direction and on meaning. And in the end, you might run a very successful organization, but it might not necessarily be profitable. Or there might not be no out to where you're trying to get to, or how you
like if you stop, the organization stops.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be in that position. And you see a lot of African families who have family-owned businesses. The succession planning is my son or my daughter. And if your son or daughter, you took them to really great schools and they're like, maybe I don't want to sell, oranges, then what happens
So wild
to your
story,
organization?
crazy story. So there's a business that I know of. So they were really rushing to complete a construction project. They were rushing to complete it so that when they had the board meeting, that building that they were constructing was ready. Then, I think it was on the Monday, that's when the board meeting was. On the Saturday, the director dies. And
Of the company,
of the
that's,
company
building.
that's building. And then the way he was running his business was that he would come in every week, Monday, and say, okay, what do you guys need? And then he'll pay what is needed. So I need light switches, this. He's the only one who knew the plan and the layout. And he essentially was holding the whole business in his briefcase or in his pocket. So now, after he passes, the whole business just comes to a grinding halt. But there's no time. There's no time between
Saturday and Monday.
Saturday and Monday. It's like, and they had work that they were supposed to do on the Sunday as well as on the Saturday. and they couldn't do it. And so the team gets in, the board meeting is happening, and this building keeps tripping, the lights keep tripping, and everything is a mess. And for me, that is one of those scary ideas about if you're building a business, you want it to be more than just you and centered around you. The ability to continue that business running in your absence becomes how you both can get more, but how the business can continue longer. And I think that is a scary idea because you almost have to relinquish your baby or your birth child for you to be able to allow other people to grow and flourish in that space and for it to not be about you.
Your number one job as an entrepreneur is to fire yourself as quickly as possible.
You reckon?
Yeah, because that's how you're going to scale. That's how you're going to grow. Because if I'm not the one who is in that context of the guy who's paying out the stuff, if I had an accountant who is paying out the stuff, I fired myself from that job of handling the finances. If I'm not the one who is planning the construction work, I have an architect who's doing that, I fire myself from the job of being architect. And I think that that's the whole thing about like team development and building the right team around you. If you are finding yourself as an entrepreneur not able to share responsibilities or divulge your responsibilities, you don't have the right team because that means you don't trust your team. And I think it's quite important to trust your team, to build your team as leaders, as people who are going to take over specific sections. So just even the way that I relate to subcontractors in our organization or people want to work with us, it's just like you have to go through my team. You can't come to me for everything. Because if I'm now the one who's answering all the calls, all the queries, then why is my team there?
But then I mean, then there's the balance, right? How do you balance between the quality that you believe and the vision and idea that you believe you bring to the table versus letting somebody else do that? That's one. But the second one is, how about if it costs too much to do that? I mean, at the end of the day, it's not a free ride, it's not a free check, but sometimes you don't have an accountant because you can't afford to have an accountant.
But you have QuickBooks.
What's QuickBooks?
It's a accounting tool. So
but then you still have to learn how to do the QuickBooks
I understand,
thing.
but if you're not going to be comfortable in learning different skills or working with your team to learn skills, then this isn't the role for you.
Okay.
And you need to leverage technology. There's a lot of stuff that's I would say that our organization, our goal by the end of the year is to be 80% AI enabled, meaning that if it's a repeatable task that an AI bot can do for us, nobody in the team should be doing that. We have automated responses that then takes time. So you have to start thinking like very smart. There's a lot of technology out there that's enabling businesses to basically be more than just your two-man team. You now feel like you're a 10-man team because you're leveraging technology. The other thing is around building those systems and processes. You have to be the one in the beginning to build those systems and processes for someone to then plug into and maybe improve on what you've done or keep it going, right? So yes, you're going to have the vision of what you want to do. You're going to have the idea of, okay, this is my quality, this is my standard. But if you don't have a quality assurance process, then clearly whoever that leader is in your organization is going to do whatever they want. It's your job, like I said, to fire yourself. So, but how are you firing yourself? You have to put those systems in place so that even a toddler could pretty much run your business. Probably not, but that's how easy you want it to be, right? So like some of the things that I see organizations fail in is even the onboarding process. Your onboarding process, I know when you're a startup, you're like, why would I spend any money on my onboarding? Or why would I even spend any time thinking about my onboarding process? I feel like an onboarding process is the most critical part of your organization. That is when you're setting up how the people are going to work in your ecosystem that you're building, how they're going to grow, what information they need to be. And then you also need to get feedback on that onboarding process. Because now when you're working with the new team member and you're scaling, and then you are a team of 100 people and you're wondering, wow, my organization doesn't feel the way that I imagined it to feel. It's probably because you didn't spend enough time on that onboarding process to make sure that you keep that spirit if you're wanting to grow.
And so question around so I've always thought if I am doing business the same way that 2 centuries ago was doing it, Okay, maybe 2 centuries is a bit far-fetched, but
Would that be like building a bridge? Are we still building them the same?
well, no. Well, anyways,
We digress.
we digress. But if I was doing something the same way as way back, I always feel that I should be asking myself the question, or I should be challenging myself, saying, with all the advancements in technology, is this the best that I can do? And so my question to you then becomes, what tools would you recommend as a first tool to just help give you that 2x, that additional group of, that feel for additional horsepower within your team? What tool would you recommend that has really helped you propel your business?
Google Suite.
Google Suite. Explain.
So, for example, we used to use Calendly,
Yep.
which is a scheduling tool, and it's quite advanced. You can add workflows in there, meaning that I can set up a scheduling link, and you can, as my customer clients, say, hey, I want to talk to Nono from 2 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Then you put in all your information. So now I have like a lead, essentially a qualified lead, because you're contacting me. So what we did is we found out that Google now has a scheduling page. Now that's free. Calendly is not free. Calendly has more advanced options in terms of the workflows and automation in that regard. Google, I think you can only send like a reminder, and that's pretty much it. But you can do more like events planning with Calendly. But when we were looking at how we were using Calendly, we were just using it for the automating and like, so, hey, you have a meeting in 2 hours, reminder sent. That's it. So we weren't even using the full functionality of that tool. So we moved to Google Suites, which had bookings, because we already have emails with Google. We already have Google Hangouts, which we don't use, but you can use. You can literally run your business through Google, and it does allow you to scale quite cheaply, because if you already have an email account, you already have like the whiteboards that they use for collaboration. They have a lot of stuff on there that's just built in. You just have to like pot around and see what you can use. So I'd say that that's probably the lowest barrier to entry, because the other tools that we use in our organization, we pay for them. Things like Slack, Asana,
Chat.
chat. Yeah, we pay for chat. And the reason we pay for chat is because we work with a lot of client data. And if you don't pay for chat and you're now using queries, you're actually putting your client's data at risk, because someone could literally go, let me see whatever this, SEMA box is security system is like, because you put it in like in the open AI.
Yeah.
So if you pay for it, you're now allowing a closed circuit so that any information that we put in there, our client's information is also protected. So yeah, we leverage like a lot of AI. And every month we have a standing meeting on a monthly basis. Everyone who's in charge of their work streams has to go like, okay, what are you using? What have you seen that's out there? Because there are so many tools. Like, we will never go through all the tools, like even us as a team. But if we're not constantly looking at, well, our processes, how can we improve those processes? How can we leverage technology out there? Then we won't have those conversations of, well, let's move from MS Teams, which is what we started with, to Slack, which we're loving. Or let's move from MS Teams to Asana or Gyro, whatever you're using, or Jira. Like, so, yeah.
So I would like to just switch it up now.
Happy to.
Young, punchy, full of life.
What is going on? I don't know.
Would you not? I mean, I'm here trying to add a bit of vibrance, because, I mean, for a change, people can see us
Okay.
in video.
All right.
So rather than...
Hi, I'm Nono.
Exactly.
Oh,
As a
bouncy.
voice,
Okay.
we want to... So,
Should I put a radio voice then?
yes, please.
No, I'll try.
I'll do the same. So, what are the moments where you've gone and felt like, I hate this, and actually then found a way to unhate it?
Okay. So, first of all, life's unfair. And you'll always have a crappy environment. So, you have to choose what crappy environment you're going to be in. Right? So I've chosen to be in, this is a crappy environment I've chosen, entrepreneurship. There is no week that doesn't go by where you're just like, oh my gosh, another problem, another issue. The only difference is that I chose this. So I don't feel like disheartened by it. Like, the days where I had really crappy career days, right? And even though maybe from outside looking in, people go, oh my gosh, like she's gonna be blah, 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 like, like this is so amazing. I would be crying driving home. I'm not crying driving home when I have a crappy day as an entrepreneur. I just have, whoa, that's a crappy day. And I'm thinking of problem solving for the next day. And even when I have crappy days, I'm enjoying it, which sounds really, really messed up. But it's that mindset of like, I'm wanting to be here. So I know it's not going to be easy because remember, I was front and center of my parents' entrepreneur journey. So I know that there are going to be a whole lot more crappy days in the beginning than they are amazing days. But it's how do you deal with that?
And what I find very interesting about that is it's the idea where you acknowledge that you've made this decision has to be solved. And you're the CEO of your own life. You accept, you keep what you accept or you accept what you keep. At the end of the day, you've made that transition and you've made it with a larger view towards getting to an end goal, and you just accept the struggle that you're in and you just have to enjoy it and
You have to
problem solve your way
yeah,
through,
you have to solve the
because
problem.
nobody else is coming to solve your problems. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I recall, I think I even told you this story where,
Tell me again. Well, you haven't told them.
no, okay, well, maybe I haven't told you either, but it was in the beginning of Data Sentinels, and one of my employees, a key employee, resigned. And I was on holiday, okay, when
Yeah.
this happened. And I remember just like laughing because it was just like, this is literally the life that I'm living. As in, I can't go, oh, mommy, daddy, help me here. Like, it's literally, it's your problem and no one gives an F about your problem. You have to now find a
it moving.
replacement, make sure that the client's deliverables are met when they're met, because the client does not care that, someone, like they are paying for a service and they don't care what's happening on the internal side. So it was just a funny moment because I was just like, this is literally the rest of my life. And I think that if you also have that same mindset in terms of being an employee in an organization, you will rise very quickly to the top because they're
Go ahead.
because they're looking for people who are solving their own problems. And you can always tell if someone has like an entrepreneur. When people go, oh, I want someone with an entrepreneurial spirit, they basically saying they want a problem solver, a self-starter, positive attitude, can still get up when things lock them down and are constantly just like on the up and up. That's pretty much what it is, because that's what you have to do in entrepreneurship. Not only are you solving your own problems internally so your business can grow, but you're solving world problems because someone is buying a service for you.
So, what I have heard you, or what is interesting around that is, even I think they call it entrepreneurship within an organization. There needs to be some people with that knack of solving problems, of being the transformative change within an organization by challenging and pushing. And at the end of the day, what this whole discussion has been about entrepreneurs, the struggles and the strives. But in some regard, that can also be applicable in a business as an employee. And if I'm to draw back, I think there was a period in my career. I got news that was a bit surprising. A slight change in the team, and I had to think about it in a very not in an emotional way, but I had to essentially put forward a strategy as to how I'm gonna go through this, and whether I'm gonna accept or whether I'm going to just wait for the fate that I've got. And for me, that was interesting because I really had to take the bull by the horn because I knew nobody else was coming to save me. And a lot of those steps, as you were talking, reminded me of some of those moments where I did not feel necessarily great, but I then said to myself that I want to get to point X. When I get to point X, I'll then have options. And so how do I get to point X? I have to talk to certain people. I have to put myself out there. I have to deliver upon what is being asked. I have to be a problem solver because nobody else is going to come save me. And once I'm able to break those barriers and solve those problems, I unleash or give myself the opportunity of options within the business. And once I had those options, I then make a decision that I then need to live with. And so, and as long as I'm living within the decisions I've made, I've got nobody else to blame, and I need to ride that wave and have that right mindset towards making the most out of it. And so I really, that difference or that bridge between an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur, I think there are a lot of lessons that I guess play in both spaces that I think I've got a bit of insight from your story.
Awesome. I think it's quite important to always have the end in mind. You need to decide what you want in this life. And
I want money.
that's fine. You know, a lot of people do. How you get the money then is now something you need to maybe think about. And I know that there's some people who feel like helplessness. And what I can say to that is that, yes, that's okay. It's fine to feel that way. Sometimes you can feel that way, but focus on what you can actually control. Focus on something that you can actually do. So you can't control someone liking you or not liking you, but you can control showing up to your work even if you get bad news. You can control the quality of the output that you deliver on a daily basis, not for anyone else, but for yourself, for what your reputation stands for, what you feel like you should be standing for. Those are the things that are in your control. You can't control whether you get fired or not fired, whether you get that promotion or you don't get that promotion, but you can control what you do in that journey to whatever outcome that leads to. And I think that if you kind of sit in that space, so even in entrepreneurship, you will literally be hit with so many crazy things. Like right now I'm in this conversation with you and I have like 1,000 other things in my head that I know I have to do as soon as I'm out of here. There isn't now I'm going to have like a 2-hour session chilling. It's like I move from here and I'm going
Straight
back
into
to
the
my
next.
next thing because a client needs this deliverable, an employee needs this answered, someone needs something else approved, whatever the case may be. So I think that if you start looking at, okay, what can I control, focusing on your priorities, it just becomes a little bit more easier to navigate any bad news that you're getting.
So there was a guest that we had on the podcast. Her name was Cynthia out in Nigeria. And what was interesting about her is that she worked in a real estate company. And she was very frustrated about that. She wasn't getting much to do. And so then she started just watching YouTube videos. And she watched YouTube video after YouTube video about cybersecurity with her Zoe. Cybersecurity is Zoe. And fate would have it, after she watched, I think it was about 2 months or 3 months of it, Microsoft came in the area that she was in and they were recruiting for cybersecurity. And though she never knew and where it would go, she put in work to prepare herself for any opportunity or for that opportunity. And so the dismay, the feeling trapped, you have to find ways of showing up for your future self, even when your current self is feeling like the world is against you. And that ability to relentlessly work on doing something, improving yourself, means that at any moment when that opportunity opens up, you've got more skills than where you would have been if you just sat there and not taken the things that you can control into your destiny or into your control. And so when you were talking, I was just like, I remember having this conversation with somebody who then became an employee and now is their own entrepreneur. So like that's really nice. That's really cool.
And I just want to end with
Yes.
Already? Yes.
These people are not done saying Your face.
So I just want to end with the concept of entrepreneurship is not for everybody. I do understand that there's a big push around that, but everyone has a role to play. Like I look at society as an ecosystem. You have moms and dads. So you have a child care provider. It doesn't necessarily have to be a mom or dad, but someone has to play that role for society to function. Someone has to teach the younger generation for society to function. Someone has to police. So I also look at entrepreneurship and being an employee as those are functions that society needs. If every one of us becomes an entrepreneur, then who's going to be working in the organizations to grow them? The reason Microsoft is successful is because it has more than 500,000 employees around the world that are doing things for Microsoft. Not everyone is Bill Gates. There's only one Bill Gates, and there are people who are are up there making a lot of money, impacting all of lives, still in the context of an employee. So I don't want people to have a shame around because of the push around entrepreneurship and, I'm now an employee. And I think in Africa, it's still swayed to, okay, I'm an employee and I have a job, more so than I'm an entrepreneur and I'm building people. I'm actually hiring people and bringing them out of poverty so that they can contribute to the economy so we can grow, because that's literally what it is. And that's why I think entrepreneurship is extremely important. But I think you need both. Yeah.
Well, I would like to thank you for joining me today. I'm doing this hand gesture because it's a video, and I'm just really trying to transfer my energy, my inner self to the camera.
I feel like these podcasts are very serious.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, that's why I keep trying to throw these lighthearted conversations, like that story I told you about that guy who passed away. But
I know. I know.
Just like anyways. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. My name is Dzikamai Gangaidzo, and I'm the host of the Shameless Podcast.
This podcast is brought to you by Transformation Leader. You can follow us at www.t4leader.com.